Hello, UCAR. Peter Christensen here, coming to you from the CEO's desk. We're going to continue on with the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, the updated version for the settlement. And last video, we talked about the Section 2, the broker's compensation. So we explained how there are now two different concepts with the listing fee in 2.1 and then the authorization to communicate a potential buyer's brokerage fee in 2.2 and how they're not the same anymore. They're two different concepts. So watch the video for more details on that. But remember that 2.2 says that the company's authorized to advertise that the seller or company is offering to pay a commission up to a certain amount. Well, up to, how do we find out what that is? How do we set that in stone? How do we make that certain? Well, in each deal. So as the offers come in, they may ask for compensation to be paid to the buyer's brokerage. And that's where it would be negotiated, is with each deal. And then it has to be put into writing, either in the purchase contract if the seller's paying it directly, or through a brokerage agreement if the listing brokerage is paying it. But it has to now be in writing with each deal. And so that's how you know what it is the seller's going to be paying. And it says in there, right, that it's an up to amount. So you're going to advertise that potentially it's going to go up to a certain amount, and then you got to set it in stone with each particular deal as you go under contract. And then if it's the listing brokerage that's paying it, not the seller directly. If it's the seller, it'll just be handled in the REPC, right? And it'll be agreed to in the REPC, maybe right now through the addendum, and then that's the seller agreeing to pay the buyer's brokerage fee, kind of like a closing cost, right? And that's where they'll know this is how much we're paying. If it's going through the listing brokerage, then there would be a commission agreement between the brokerages, and the Section 2.3 becomes applicable. And that basically says if the company's paying it, so the listing brokerage is paying the fee instead of the seller directly, then that amount will be added to Section 2.1, which is the listing fee. Basically saying, yeah, seller, you're still paying this, but you'll pay it in the listing fee. We'll just add it to the listing fee. So the total commission you owe us, the listing brokerage, from this deal. So that's how they handle that, right? But we won't go above what you authorized us to offer in 2.2, the up to amount. We won't agree to anything above that. And remember as well that a buyer's brokerage cannot take any more than their buyer broker agreement authorizes them to take. So if the listing, if the seller's offering, 10%, and the buyer broker agreement says they can take 5%, their fees 5%. Well, obviously the listing brokers can't pay 10%. They'd have to pay 5%. The buyer's brokerage is not authorized to take more than 5%. And so that's why it's an up to amount. It's completely negotiable. So sellers offering 10%. Well, it really up to 10%. So send us the offer. If the seller doesn't like the total deal, if it's not netting the seller what the seller wants, then they're not going to agree to the full 10%, potentially. Or, whatever, all the factors that come into play. But it's very negotiable and has to be put into writing, again, through the REPC or through a compensation agreement. Got it? Super clear? I hope so. Remember, this is not legal advice. This is legal information only. If you need specific legal advice, please contact your attorney. Thanks for tuning in.